And we're live? No, not yet. Almost. It's coming and we're live. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in on my second episode this year and my second episode with Stephen. I am really glad that you guys haven't scared him off because I do need a co host. I do need someone to keep me in check, keep the timing, as well as to make sure things remain interesting. And today, we have something that I'm sure probably you have heard of these things before, probably have opinions. But without further ado, let me just ask Steven, how was your first experience last week?
Look, Vincent, I enjoyed our chat. I really did. And it was a lot of fun as you know, it's our first one. We got to chat about a couple of different things. I got to try and keep you on time. I'm not doing that on purpose, but I do like the idea that about 45, 50 minutes, it's a good amount of time to go for a walk or do some exercise or for any of our listeners in Sydney, to drive somewhere because if things in Sydney take ages to get to. So thank you for having me back.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And you made a really good point because quite a number of our listeners are actually saying it to me and to Christian before that they were actually listening while they were on their morning walk or when they are
Mhm.
actually lining up for their either morning coffee or lunches or when they walk their dog because this is something that is very useful, I think, because I do listen to audiobook or podcast when I'm on a walk as well, because you don't really want your walk to just be physical exercise, but it's actually even better when it is also meaningful and productive, intellectually. And I use the word intellectually because I do hope that what we talk about give you a lot of new informations. Because as a scientist, I do believe, and as an engineer, I'm sure you will agree with me, Stephen, that knowledge is power. And I think when we know something, we know better, we tend to make better choices, right?
That's absolutely right. I think that even people who don't think that they do a lot of research when they're buying a new thing, my wife and I at the moment we're buying a side table. Right? So it sounds really simple. Just you go to the shops, you say yes, that's the right height, that's the right width. Let's get that, take it home. Uh, but actually, even people who think that that's an impulsive purchase, just to go to the shops and buy something, there is some research that they've done. They may not have spent hours looking through internet reviews. They may not have gone to one of the online shopping and seeing what's available. They may think that they've just gone to that shop. But actually, I think in most cases, you take on that information slowly in some cases. And so you've formed an opinion. You've got something in your head, something that you think is going to work. And I think that's what we're talking about.
The reason why I'm making this face is because you touch on something that I never actually thought about before until you told me. I mean, obviously, I've bought furniture before. I've made decision to purchase something. However, you touch on the point where you know even beyond the size, the measurement, the brand, there are so many layers to information, processing information, and making decision based on those information because
Mhm.
style comes into play as well, the material, where you buy it, price comparison, and reviews. And I think the reason why I mentioned that, and it was so profound to me because I immediately drew a similarity to when we make decision about our health, about our wellness, and that last week, if you missed last week's episode, please do listen to it. Or if you missed this particular part, listen to it again because I did make a comment that Stephen is a king of segue because that was a really good segue into introducing our topic for this week, which is health myths, sayings, and the science behind all of this, whether it's true, whether it's actually scientifically sound, or just something that have been passed on through generations without any scientific backing at all. And Stephen, take it away.
Look, I think that I love this topic. So I think as listeners will work out about me, I like doing a bit of research before we have a discussion. And if you type into your favorite search engine, medical recommendations during the 19th century. Honestly, it's a rabbit hole of really fantastic things. Uh, the one that I love the most, I think, is a cure for drowning. Now, I think cure is a very strong term because have you ever heard, Vincent, that that phrase "to blow smoke up someone's ass"?
Yes,
Apologies for the
of course.
yeah.
No, I really love that you asked me that, and I really love that some of the notes that you sent contain a lot of phrases that, as someone whose first language is not English, sometimes doesn't make a lot of sense. So, just a quick anecdotal experience as someone whose first language is not English. I remember the first time I was doing a lecture, I did a attendance call everyone on in the classroom to make sure that I've got everyone that enrolled in the program present.
Yeah.
And I go to this student named Ashley, and I skipped Ashley, and somebody asked me, "What about Ashley?" And I said, "Oh, Ashley is no longer with us." In my mind, I was thinking that I knew because Ashley emailed me saying that she would take this course next year instead of this year.
Ah.
And everybody went silent. And I was like, something's wrong. And immediately I recognized, okay, when I say that someone is no longer with us, usually that person probably passed away. So there you go. Blow smoke up your arse.
Well, apparently the origin story links to this idea that if you blow tobacco smoke up someone's behind, that it's a resuscitation method for drowning victims. Um, which seems very strange. Like, I don't even know why somebody would come up with something like that. But it's a great example where something that is medical related has come into our standard speech. Today we use it as flattery, or if you're saying really lovely things about somebody in front of them, that's a bit of a term that we use.
This is what Christians doing to me. Okay, I get it now. But you know what? I don't know whether this is true or not, but I probably hypothesize is a good word that during that time, tobacco, which is what they use to generate this smoke,
Hmm.
at that time it was probably a common knowledge that it is a mean of stimulation.
Yeah.
And drowning, people at that time probably didn't actually think that there are so many layers to why someone is unconscious when drowning happened. It's not just something that makes someone lose their consciousness. There has a lot to do with the nervous system,
Hmm.
the breathing and respiratory system, as well as water being in the lungs. So
Yeah.
I think because they knew at that time that tobacco was a stimulant,
Mm.
the same way
Yep.
probably caffeine and coffee is,
Yep.
which is the reason why there's also a history of using coffee for enema.
Hmm.
And I put two together, one and one, two together, and probably that's the reason why they use that to resuscitate someone because it gets stimulation. And probably once in a while it worked. And when you're desperate, people didn't know what actually worked. They try everything,
Oh,
and this
completely.
became a saying.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. There are a bunch of these kinds of sayings. One I think that you've used even last episode was "an apple a day keeps the doctor away." Do you
Yes,
know the origin of that?
I think I do, but what I know about that saying is because not only because my product is called an apple a day and we own the trademark, so don't try it, people. The reason why that saying became really intriguing as someone whose first language is not English and whose first language is not Mandarin,
Mm.
my first language is Indonesian, is that I don't I have yet to find a saying or an adage that have existed in both Western and Eastern culture through generations, and the saying literally translate into the same thing.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
English, an apple that keeps the doctor away. In Chinese, 一天一粒苹果，医生远离我. So it is exactly the same. And back in the day, communication from one side of the world to the other side is not as easy as it is now, or like 50 years ago. So there must be some statistical or anecdotal recounts or accounts that link the consumption of apples to human health.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. I made some notes about particularly the Chinese references to apples, and I think the health of apples has been pretty well known for quite some time. Uh, I also love how many times apples or apple cider vinegar is the other one that I know a lot of people swear by. Uh, just the positive impacts on your health that an apple cider vinegar has. Now, I'm a bit of a cook. I'm certainly not going to say that I'm a chef, but I'm a bit of a home cook. And I've completely moved from the vinegars that I used to use, even malt vinegars, over to an apple cider vinegar because there's a slight freshness of taste which I like in baking, but also in curries and in Chinese foods and even in soups and stews. Using the apple cider vinegar just has a bit of a fresher flavour. Maybe that's all in my head, or maybe it's better for me. What do you think?
Well, flavor wise, it's not that one is better than the other because in terms of flavor, I have to say that sherry vinegar, red wine vinegar is my favorite.
Yeah.
However, when it comes to the health profile, including the pH, how it's being buffered in our body, apple cider vinegar does have an edge over just the acetic acid in other vinegars. So uh, I know that you weren't actually giving me a springboard to spur my products. However, this was not even the product that I had in mind when we have products in Woolworths and Coles. The reason why we ended up having the apple cider vinegar is because I didn't I, I didn't know at that time, and certainly now, that there isn't one apple cider vinegar that's actually in Australia that is actually made from 100% Australian apples.
Mm,
And I feel that we have the most fantastic apples when it comes to the antioxidants, and we know that people are taking apple cider vinegar for the health benefits more than just the culinary properties. So I really want to showcase and highlight the antioxidant aspect of apples in Australia. So I made apple cider vinegar, but at the same time, I also did a market research that on average, the apple cider vinegar's product in the market here in Australia sit on the shelves for approximately 2 to 3 years before they actually refresh the new stock.
wow.
And we know that while the acetic acid in the vinegar lasts for forever,
Mm,
the bioactive compounds don't. So
yeah.
whilst technically it remains safe for years to come, a lot of people, when they buy products that are sitting in the shelves for 2 or 3 years when it comes to the ACV, they're missing out on the highest potency they can get from the bioactive compounds.
I understand.
So the reason is twofold. One, they're the bigger brand are making in the bigger batch. Number
Yeah.
two, they're imported. So by making our ACV here in Australia in a smaller batch, the average time of our products on the shelves is between 3 to 4 months. And we are producing every 3 to 4 months. So at the longest time, you probably get 5 to 6 months, which is well beyond the time frame for the antioxidants to remain active.
I see. So you could argue that buying local is better for you.
In most cases, buying local is better for you. And I'm not only saying this because of our products. I'll give you another example. I'm kind of into wine.
Mm.
I'm not saying that I'm an expert, but I'm certainly enthusiastic about wine, especially sparkling wine. And as you know, because of the rule of origin, only sparkling wine made in Champagne region in Champagne, France can be called champagne.
Mm. Yes.
The rest you can't. You can call it, sparkling wine or bubbly wine or wherever it is, right? The same way that Prosecco is from Italy. However, I would argue that Tasmania is probably a better wine region to grow grapes to make sparkling wine slash champagne in the traditional method than champagne is. It's just because we are considered the new world and champagne is called the legacy old world. So I have to say that
I think what you just said there is going to explode our comments.
yes,
But I still I love French champagne. Can't
I
go,
don't get me wrong, I love French
and
champagne
it's a
too.
very specific thing
Yes,
as well. Uh, but then for freshness, for something that is uh, closer to when the grapes were actually picked,
yes,
again, buying local, you're going to get more of the flavors, more of what the winemakers wanted out of that grape. And I know, unfortunately, that a lot of French champagne sits on a dock somewhere while it waits for customs, and it's
and
a huge period of time.
I agree with you. And people, before you guys explore in the comment, I know that you said that wine can develop flavor and everything over time. I agree. I think what Stephen is insinuating is that when things are on the dock or when things are in the warehouse, God knows what happens to them in terms of
Yeah.
temperature, in terms of being handled. So um, I am someone who really champion local markets.
Hmm.
Our fresh fruit and vegetables that you buy from the from your local farmers market, because do this experiment. You love cooking, so you would use a lot of herbs,
Yes, definitely.
or as Martha Stewart will call it, herbs. If you buy coriander or chives or spring onions from the supermarket, you cut off the top and you replant the root bit, it, it tends not to grow.
Mm,
However, if you buy it from a farmer's market or wet market, you do that, it propagates so easily.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying that things that you buy from supermarket are unsafe. What I'm saying is that there are less thing being done and put onto them to make them last longer, to make them look a certain way. So before, uh, by all means, buy from wherever you want to buy your products and produces. However, look around, join your Facebook group in your area, because you will be surprised how much more flavor you can get and how much money you can save.
Yeah, definitely. I did a cooking class a little while ago, and part of the class was to chop up a whole lot of chilies. Now, as I said last week, I grow chilies at home, and so I'm very aware of how potent some chilies can be. But in this class, we had the chilies that had been provided by the producer who was running the class, and she instructed us to put in probably twice the number of chilies that I would have used. And when I asked, "Isn't this going to be too hot?" She said, "Oh no, these chilies are from the local supermarket. I won't say which one, of course. These chilies are from the local supermarket. You need double the number to get the right flavor," which really surprised me. But then, I guess I grow them locally myself. I know how hot my chilies are. I thought, are they a different plant? What you've said actually explains it completely. That actually they're coming from a different place,
Yes,
or they've sat around for a little while, or
yes,
they've been frozen, even worse,
yes.
before they get put on the shelves and then defrosted. So fresh is better.
Fresh is better. Whenever you can, wherever you can, and for the things that you can, because things like Brazil nuts, for example,
Mm.
they grow them in Australia, but because our soil lacks in selenium, and Brazil nuts is one of the highest source of selenium, it kind of cancel each other. So I know that there's a lot of information and a lot of mismatched information and paradox, but I mean, this is why we're here. Otherwise, you don't need to listen from us. But I want to comment on your note about apples there, because apple's botanical name is Malus domestica, which is a little bit of a paradox. It literally means that the evil that you grow for is a homebound evil, is it not?
Oh, yeah,
Because
I guess so.
Malus
Is bad.
is bad
Uh,
and domestica is
is
homebound,
local. Yep.
local. Yes, which is a really good thing to think of. And the other thing that is also really important, because in French, apple is pom.
Yes.
However, if you trace the root of the words, it actually, by the meaning of the words, closely related more to pomegranate or potato rather than apples as we know it.
Because I think apple is a Germanic root
Yes.
for apfel. So I'm not a language person.
Oh, neither am I.
Well, you know more languages than I do. I think it was the English, Bahasa, and
And
a little bit of
Mandarin
Mandarin.
and a little bit of Latin because you can't. Nobody speaks Latin. I mean, I
Uh,
really don't. Nobody speaks Latin. However, if you're in life science uh, field and discipline, I think you cannot
you have
escape
to
it.
learn a
You
bit of
have
it.
to learn. Yeah.
Yeah. I think as well, I have a friend who is studying archaeology, and she is the first person that I've come across recently who has studied ancient Greek,
Oh wow.
which is kind of similar, I guess, in some ways to Latin, different letters, of course. I studied ancient Greek as well,
Okay.
uh, not for my HSC though, because my ancient Greek teacher said to me, Stephen, if you do ancient Greek for your HSC, you're going to bring down the scores for the entire state. So choose something different.
That is fair enough. You don't want to be the person who brings down. No, no, no. Even though one could argue that you could probably influence it the other way around.
Maybe not at that time.
But and I think I made a comment here, the cultural detour, right? Because apples for a lot of people, I don't know whether this is archaeologically proven, but a lot of people equate apples to the forbidden fruit
Mm,
from the Garden of Eden
yeah,
story.
which I think is unfair, to be honest.
Well, I once upon a time we used to have a series of bus on a route in Sydney, and we have a really big poster of Adam and Eve holding a red apple, and it says that a secret so good that it shouldn't stay between Adam and Eve, which means that our products made from 100% of apples, Australian apples,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's good for your health. So that's a that's a really good anecdotal thing that you put in terms of the apples and the language behind it, and uh, the things that fascinate me that in the Western culture, in the Eastern culture, apple symbolizes longevity and health, which
Mm,
means that I might be onto something.
you might be onto something. Vincent, we were talking about what we were going to discuss during this podcast, and one of the things that we wanted to cover is how people, perhaps throughout history, have grabbed onto something that helps them stay healthy. Whether that is a particular type of exercise, whether it's something that they eat, whether it's somewhere that they live as well. That's the other one that I thought would be quite interesting. I know in big cities it's sometimes very hard to get away from the smoke and the smog and the environmental impacts, which will have an impact on your health. There's no way of getting away from that. Uh, Perhaps you could have a bit of a chat about what are the things over time that you know about that people have done to try and improve their health, and perhaps some of the things that are positive. We've spoken about a few of the things that are silly, like blowing smoke or
Yes,
using tobacco to do different things. But what are some of the positive ones?
I do think that the one that I wanted to touch on is, have you ever heard of the old wife tale? That's what they call it. You don't drink water during mealtime because it will dilute your stomach acid and it will make your digestive works less efficiently.
Mm,
And you know what? This is something that is untrue because our stomach acid is very, very low in terms of the pH scale, and pH is a log scale, so it's not exponential, it's not linear. So it
okay.
would take, I don't know, like 10 liters of water to bring down 1 point of the pH value of your stomach acid. So that's not true. However, throughout history, people relied on this advice because, especially for kids and young children, because when they drink a lot of water, obviously it takes up space in their tummy, in their stomach. And when they are growing, that would displace the place that could have been for nutrients, for calorie dense food. So whilst the science is not very sound, they see the impact and the result for kids who are not drinking water or a lot of water during mealtime. They tend to grow better. They tend to grow taller. And I think in a lot of cases, this sort of kind of old wives' tale are rooted in evidential result that people at that time can see. However, as we now learn, correlation doesn't mean causal relationship. But at that time, they can only draw conclusion. They could only draw conclusion from what they can see. So whilst we can sit here and laugh about the silly things that people believe in the past, we have to also be mindful that they're they were actually operating with the best information and the best evidence they could witness and observe at that time. And I don't think that's bad, because it showed that health and well-being and survival of your family members, of yourself, have always been very important. Because if survival of your loved ones and yourself and being healthy and well weren't that important, all of these things wouldn't have, sprouted in terms of being retold and retold and being passed on through generations.
Yeah. I guess, though, should we look at some of those things as old wives' tales, as things that were perhaps felt like they were the right thing? I understand the not drinking water as you've described it, and it makes sense to me as well, because you don't want the kid filling their tummy with water and not finishing their meal.
That's correct.
But then I've also read things like the cabbage diet, where
Yes.
people eat too much cabbage. And like, we all know what happens when you eat too much cabbage. That can't be good for you.
So I have a very, very firm belief is that anything that is too good, anything that is too little or too much, they are not good for you.
Yeah.
Even too much water can kill you. Even too much of a good thing is bad. And when we talk about the cabbage diet, for example, and I'm going to loop in another type of diet to grapefruit diet, because it was so popular in the, I don't know, 80s, 70s,
The Hollywood
90s,
diet.
the Hollywood diet. And if you are on Instagram, you probably have seen the diet that Vogue magazine in 1970s have published, that you should drink a bottle of Chablis for the entire day, and that would help you lose weight. So
I'm sure it does.
yes, if that is the only thing that you eat or drink the entire day. Sounds lovely though. What I'm getting at is, whenever there is a vanity aspect, especially weight loss attached to a diet or to eating program, it gets people's attention.
Yes.
I do believe that human being, it doesn't matter from what culture, economic, social background someone is from, they cannot resist but being obsessed with their weight and other people's weight.
Yeah.
And I'm not only talking about overweight to lose weight, I'm also talking about people who are underweight, who want to gain mass, who want to be in the healthy weight range, who want to be literally the average. Weight is probably the only thing that most people want to be in the average. Most of the time, people want to excel. People want to be outside the bell curve. For weight, I bet that a lot of people from this extreme and this extreme want to be in the middle ground. So when we talk about the cabbage diet or the grapefruit diet or the wine diet, whatever diet it is, they rely on two things. The first one is calorie restriction. Weight loss and weight gain is purely mathematics. Surely obviously there are nuances for both sides. However, at its very core, purely mathematics. Calorie that you put into your body and calorie that your body exerts. So when you have a very restrictive diet, in the way that you're only eating cabbage or cabbage soup, or in the way that you start your day eating grapefruit, or you put grapefruit juice in, you drink grapefruit juice throughout the day, you're automatically restricting the amount of other food that may be higher in calorie into yourself.
Mm.
So the same thing when people are doing intermittent fasting, when people are doing vegan diet or gluten-free diet, out of a sudden, instead of free for all, you can eat everything, you're a little bit more careful. You read every label. So when you lose weight because you follow a certain diet, usually it's because you're restricting or you're reducing the calorie intake that you put into your body. And when people say that they get healthier following a certain diet, it's less about what they are excluding. It's more about knowing what they put into their body. When you follow a certain diet like veganism or gluten free diet, usually sometimes you end up making your own food. You're ending up eating food that are freshly prepared rather than packaged food because you need to tick all of the boxes of what your diet allows you. And number two, when you're doing this diet that focuses on certain type of ingredient, usually this ingredient has a diuretic property,
I
which
see.
means that your body is flushing out water from from itself, and that is the fastest way to make you think that you lose weight. But water weight is not a true weight loss because once you drink water, the weight will come back. And not only that, it could be really dangerous because majority of 70% of body is water. Our brain is made up from mostly water. So when you take away the water in the name of losing weight, you're literally making your body works harder, making your body works under stress. Because
Yeah.
if your body doesn't have enough water, your blood can thicken. It means that every part of your body doesn't get enough oxygen, nutrients, and everything that keeps it alive.
Yeah. So Vincent, let's summarize all of that and bring it back to a healthy diet that promotes longevity. So we need to keep a balance, is
We need
what
to
I'm
keep a
hearing
balance.
from you.
Yes,
But we also need to think about, if I'm hearing you correctly, we also need to think about the amount of liquids or water or the volume of what we're ingesting, as well as the different types of things that we're ingesting. Is that right?
that's right. Because human being, again, we're saying a lot of things that will make the comment section explode. But do sound off. Do sound off. We love that. Humans are not designed. Wait for it. To just eat everything plant based.
Yeah.
There are only two complete amino acid profile protein, and both of them are from the animal kingdom, egg and milk. Sure, you can live a healthy life. You can fulfill all of these nutrients, macro and micronutrients into your body just by purely being plant based, but it takes supplement. They can be natural, but still
Mhm.
supplement. You need to really plan it really well in terms of the types of plant proteins that you put into your diet. So what I'm trying to say is not to negate the veganism movement or vegetarian or plant based. What I'm trying to say is that biologically we are designed to take our nutrients from different sources,
A variety.
a variety of food, because unfortunately, number one, not every single type of food has complete nutrients, and number two, sometimes processing, even
Mm.
through normal cooking, can deteriorate certain types of nutrients.
Or as we were saying earlier, things that have been sitting around for too long, maybe they've been on a dock, maybe they've been frozen, maybe they've been in transport.
And what's worse, maybe they were frozen, slightly thawed, and then refreeze.
Yes.
And this is something that we need to be mindful by having a wide variety of food in our diet. We are minimizing the risk of the nutritional gap. And number two, I truly believe this. ultra processed food is the number one enemy in our diet now. In 2026, if you only have one goal, please, please try to minimize the ultra processed food items intake in your daily life, in your everyday diet, because it is so hard to do it. You really have to make a concerted effort to do
Hard
it.
to avoid.
It's hard
Absolutely.
to avoid. And equally as important, water. The first part of our digestive system, the first step of our digestive system is hydrolysis, which means the breaking down of substances by water. We need water to function. A lot of times people drink juice or coffee or tea or beer or wine, I'm not judging, and they consider that water intake. It's not
No,
water
it's
intake.
not there.
It's not.
Because as you mentioned, some of those things are diuretics.
That's correct.
Some of them have so much sugar that it offsets any of the good that that liquid might have possibly done as well.
That is very, very true. And that's the reason why I enjoy a bottle of wine, or a glass of wine rather.
A glass of wine, I hope.
A glass of wine, but a bottle of wine sometimes, not just by myself. So the joke was supposed to be that all of the sugars have been fermented and converted into something else. That's why wine sometimes can be classified as a keto product, right? Like
Mm.
low sugar. I'm grasping here. Anyway,
It's a good idea. I
it's a
like
good idea. Yeah. I need to work on my delivery. The other thing that I also want to comment on from your note is that take your medicine with sugar, or the sugar makes the medicine go down better.
goes down easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think because sugary coating or maltodextrin or certain types of coating are still being applied to certain tablets or pills and,
Mhm.
and capsules
And supplements
and
as well, I think
supplements,
as well. Yeah.
not our supplements, but sometimes you need to weigh the risk. So in the past, most of the time, the medicine is in the form of tincture, herbal tinctures,
Mhm.
and most of the time they are bitter. So in the name of compliance, in the name of making sure that the patient takes it, sugar seems to be a less damaging thing for them to ingest.
I see. Yeah, definitely.
So it served the purpose at the time. I truly believe that without that, probably people would avoid taking their medicine, which would cause a more devastating effect than just a tablespoon of sugar or a tablespoon of
Yeah.
sugar. So
Yeah. I actually think that before we had easy access to refined sugar, we had a lot of honey.
yes,
And it was probably honey originally. It was a
yes,
spoonful of honey to
yes.
make the medicine go down.
Probably, you're right. But the concept is
Mhm.
still the same. Is
It's still
that
the same.
something sweet that make people actually take their medicine.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder how many people now use things. Excuse me. I wonder how many people use things like peanut butter now to make the medicine go down. Do you think that's a thing?
I'm not well, for dogs, yes,
Mhm.
because for our dog Chili, we actually had to coat the warming tablet in peanut butter for him to actually want to take it.
Yeah.
And I do know that they do use sugary liquid, not honey, because of the risk of botulism poisoning for kids under 12 months. But they use sugar or fructose syrup to give to to small babies when they need to put in something that is bitter, or
Mm,
I don't know. I
yes.
didn't taste the medicine, but I would assume it would not be very pleasant if they have to follow it up with something that is sweet.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense to
it
me.
serves the purpose. And the other, like my most favorite, or second most favorite, because I need to stay on brand with an apple a day. But my second favorite one was laughter is the best medicine.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I firmly believe this scientifically, because if we believe, if we can accept the fact and scientific explanation that stress can age you and can make you sick, the opposite must be true as well. That laughter makes you healthier.
Yeah. Look, I know that there have been a bunch of studies done. There are clowns in every hospital I go to now. I know that
This is a dangerous territory because I don't know.
Are you afraid of clowns?
I am not afraid of clown. They just make me very uncomfortable. I don't know if you get. I mean, if you're listening to this, please go to astrosvision.com and you could see my face change when Stephen mentioned clown. But go on.
I don't know how to follow that one up, but I do know that that laughter as medicine is fantastic. I think that in every city there are laughter classes. I think that there are a whole lot of things that laughter does to you physiologically as well, even if it's just opening up your airways. But I think that we all need a little bit of a laugh.
Yes,
It's a positive thing.
and it gives a pause to your heart muscle when it is tensing and pumping. So when you laugh, your heart cannot physically do the heart pumping. So what it means is that it gives your heart a little bit of a break and a rest, and it dramatically lowers down your blood pressure at that time.
Wow.
So that's why when people say that, lighten up, that literally means that. So that gives your body a little bit of a reprieve when you are in a tense situation. And that's the reason why throughout history and as a coping mechanism, sometimes people use jokes or laughter to break the ice, to break that tension, because
Yeah.
your body responds that way. And I do think that it's almost like, I mean, you're a computer guy, so it's almost like not a fail safe, but for lack of a better word, a fail safe that your body so kind of, this is a backdoor access to like immediately reduce the tension.
It is. Look, there's something that I've always relied on, being a salesperson in technology. Actually, I've got two stories for you, and they're a little bit random, I guess. One of them is that I don't know if you know, but years and years ago, before we had the internet, there were these things called
I do not know.
encyclopedias.
Oh yes, Encyclopedia Britannia.
Yes, that's
Yes.
fact. There were a number of different encyclopedias, but Encyclopedia Britannica, I think, is probably the most famous.
And Carta, I think there's one.
There were
Microsoft. Yeah.
that they were on disc, I think.
Yes,
on CD.
I grew up. That
Young
was
people don't.
my Wikipedia before Wikipedia existed. But go on. Sorry.
So as a encyclopedia, like as an encyclopedia salesman, and I'm not as old to be one of them, so this is just a story. This isn't personal experience. But an encyclopedia salesperson, the rule was they went to the door, they knocked on the door, and the person would answer the door, and the encyclopedia salesperson would say, "I'm here to sell encyclopedias. Would you like an update? Do you have an encyclopedia? Let's have a discussion about that." But the rule was that if the encyclopedia salesperson could not get the homeowner to brew a cup of tea or make a pot of coffee, they were not going to be able to sell, because at that time they discovered that it's only through a conversation over a cup of tea or a cup of coffee that they were going to get the person relaxed enough to be able to say yes to this investment for a bookshelf full of encyclopedias. Now, that same concept translates through to IT sales as well. And it's not about a cup of tea or coffee, although a lot of salespeople do sell over food. In Asia, it's very
Wine and
common.
dine.
You have
Yes.
to do the
Yes.
food thing. But as a salesperson in Sydney and in Australia, I looked for the way to make the customer laugh. And so that could be a funny story. It could be self-deprecating, I had a car accident before I got here, something that was silly, because unless you get that smile, unless you get that laugh, it's almost certain that you.
Did you know that that's how we got into Woolworths?
Really?
Yes.
You made them laugh.
I made the managing director for Woolworths supermarket laugh. And you have to tune in next week to hear the story, and it involves Nicole Kidman. So make sure that you tune in next week because we're at the 44 minutes mark and I don't want to get told off this week. The last one that I want to talk about is actually something that I found crazy, right? I'm just gonna do a quick, rapid fire to you. Tapeworm diet. Tapeworm diet.
Tapeworm diets. Awesome.
So basically, you want something to suck all the nutrients so that you are thick enough to lose weight.
Yeah.
Okay. Just so we're clear.
It's a real thing.
It is. I know that. Cotton ball diet. Or in Indonesia, it is more popular as a tissue paper diet. So instead of cotton ball, people ingest or eat tissue paper.
Yep.
To fill their tummy so that they don't feel hungry.
Yeah.
I mean, I am quite vain, I think, but after today, I feel that I am perfectly normal. I've never done that before. Sleeping beauty diet. So you sleep.
Have you heard of that one?
No, I have not.
Well, if you're sleeping, you're not eating. It's very simple.
That is very true. I mean, now that you break it down that way, and let's end with the craziest one: arsenic diet pills.
I know. There are some things that still surprise me that I see on the internet. That was definitely one that stood out. Poisoning your body so that it doesn't correctly process all the good food that you're eating. That just seems crazy. Nobody do that.
Well, please don't do that. But the one thing that I drew from our very robust conversation today is that the vanity aspect is not only a modern day issue. It dated back to many, many decades ago.
Yes.
Because the arsenic diet pills, that was in the Victorian era, I think. So
correct. Yeah.
What I'm trying to think and process here is that we're not unique when people say that millennials or Gen Z or Gen Alpha only prioritize the outward look. They will do everything to look good because human historically have been doing that since, I don't know, the 1800s, 1700s, the whole of time.
Yeah.
So I guess the takeaway from today's episode is that I, as a scientist and health enthusiast and expert, and you as someone who has common sense, what we're trying to, I don't know why you laugh at that, but what we're trying to do is that we want to make sure that whilst it is so tempting to do something that promises quick results when it comes to glowing skin, weight loss, or, put on muscles and stuff like that, please think of your body and your mind as the only place that you will be in for hopefully many, many years and many, many decades to come.
Yeah.
Don't sacrifice long-term health and wellness for short-term gain. They're probably not going to do you any good, even in the short-term timeline anyway. So please make sure that when you Google stuff, follow it up with, I don't know, scientific information. Ask your doctor. There's a reason why people say that ask your doctor or health professionals before you start a new diet. This is not for people who somehow decide that, I'm going to eat 2 eggs instead of 1. No. The reason why this advice exists was because sometimes people do crazy things for short-term gain. And please don't be that person, especially if you listen to our podcast. Thank you so much for today. And make sure you tune in next week because I'm going to tell you my woolly story. Until then, it's me, Vincent, and
me, Stephen. Thank you very much for listening.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.